So now we're going to look into creating lists in Python, and you can do that with multiple ways. Let's say we want to do an empty list right here. So here, two standard ways to create an empty list. You can either do it one way, which is denoting it A is going to be this bracket space bracket, so it's going to follow the structure of a list, or you can use the function, the built-in function in Python, which is list of arguments. In this case, we're giving it no arguments, so it's going to be both an empty lists right here. And if we compare the two really quickly, you can say print the type of list, the type of A, as well as the length of A, so how many arguments are inside A and what A is, and we can do the same thing for comparing what B is, as well as how many arguments B has, which essentially is none, right, because we've given it no arguments. And we can compare the two by saying whether A equals B. And what this does is it compares the class types of A and B, and also compares the arguments inside, if it's a list, right? It compares the arguments of A with the arguments of B, and sees whether or not they are equal. So in this case, we would expect it to be equal because they both contain no arguments, which is true. So you can see that they're both classes of lists in Python, and they have no arguments because we gave it no arguments, and they are empty lists. So they are true. We can also have lists with different kinds of elements. So you can have A being a list that contains one argument, which is a string of hello, or you can have it contain integers. So in this case, if we actually compare the two of them, you see that the type of A and B are both going to be lists, right, because they're denoted by this bracket right here, and they're both going to have one length because they have one argument, either the string hello or the string 42 or the integer 42. And however, if you print whether A is going to be equal to B, right, they're both going to be lists. But then it's going to compare the string of hello with the integer 42, which are obviously not the same because they're different class types and they're just different values in general. So in this case, it's false, even though they have the same class type and they both have one element. It then goes on to compare the actual arguments inside. We can also create lists with multiple elements. I'm just going to grab that here, and so we can assign A to be with integers. We can assign B to be a list of this iterator 5, so the range of 5 goes up to 4, so it goes from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the list would be those elements 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you can also create lists with mixed types, with strings, with booleans, with integers, and we can see that they're all going to be the list type. However, they have different lengths, 4, 5, 3, because there's 4 elements here, 5 elements that go from 0 to 4, and then 3 elements here. So yeah, you can create lists with different kinds of class types. You can also have lists with variable lengths. And let's say we have n being an integer 10, and we have A being this list right here. So it's a list that has length 1 with one argument 0. And if you multiply it by an integer like this, you actually end up creating a list with 10 arguments. So you have one argument times 10 times, so A is going to be a list that has 0, 0, 0, etc. It's going to have 0 10 times in that list. And B, you would say, B is going to be a list of the iterator of range of 10, so you have starting from 0 all the way to 9 arguments, 0 to 9 integers inside your list B. So if you want to compare again, they're both going to be lists again, because list of this argument and then list of this bracket structure right here. So they're both going to have 10 arguments, right? Because you've done it 10 times here, or you've gone to a range of 10. However, they're going to contain different elements. So as you see here, this is going to be 10 zeros, and this is going to go from 0 to 9.